Welcome everyone to episode 18 of Kerbal Space Program First Contract. Now we have a small problem. The next most logical contract for us to try and extend our skills at is to explore Duna. Unfortunately, Duna, the transfer window for Duna that is 168 days away. Now we could just accelerate time and rush on to get to the Duna transfer window, but in a roleplay sense, KSC would be burning funds doing nothing. So we do have other options, and those other options are around building new bases, in this case a base on the Mun, an orbital base around the Mun, and we have build an orbital station around Minmus as well. And this one in particular is quite interesting because it gives us quite a lot of funds and a substantial amount of science, almost 4,000 science, just for building an orbital station. Now we can also pick off this particular contract here, right down at the bottom. It's a 3-star contract, and again it will give us a very high amount of funds and 3,000 science. Now this particular satellite has a very unusual orbit specifics, hence its highly eccentric lightning orbit around Minmus. So it has some interest in itself to set that particular contract and that particular orbit up. And of course we could always use it to send out a carbonite and ScanSat sensor in order to help us build our new orbital station around Minmus, and hopefully a contract will appear to build a ground station on Minmus as well. So those are our two choices. We can either rush forward and explore Duna, which to be fair doesn't actually yield a great deal for all the work we would have to do, and that includes exploring Ike as well. Or we could do something a bit closer to home, but perhaps more interesting in the sense that it's building stations. So, with that in mind, I'll leave you waiting. I'll see you in a moment. Right, well, Jean and the boys have slept on our conundrum, and we have decided we are going to do the orbital station around Minmus, but we have been reading the fine print. And it does say that we have to bring a newly discovered Class C asteroid to Minmus on which to build the base. Now, fortunately for us, there is a contract for that. All it requires is for us to bring the Class C asteroid to Minmus. We don't have to put it in any particular orbit, which is probably just as well. And for that we will get a sizable amount of funds and a sizable amount of science. We'll have 17 years to do this, so it is going to be one of those contracts which is going to take some time. Now, while we're working around Minmus, we may as well pick off other Minmus related contracts such as this one. This will be handy for putting a satellite around Minmus to do some carbonite scanning, for example. So basically the next few episodes are going to be clustered around doing stuff at Minmus while we wait for the Duna launch window to arrive. So with that in mind, let us accept those contracts that we intend to do for Minmus and head on over to the VAB to do a basic amount of Minmus housekeeping. I'll see you there. Here we are in the VAB as usual, and this is the Minmus camera satellite that we sent up in our last mission. And it's a fairly standard rocket, so it should do very well for our next mission. But we don't need this, so we will lob that away. What we do need, however, is the carbonite detector, which we will stick on the top. And we will also add our ScanSat multispectral sensor. We will lob that rather incongruously on this side. Rather covers up our thermometer, so let's move that out of the way, put that there, and just for balance we will put an equally sized, equal massed object with equal drag on the other side, just to keep everything symmetrical. We don't want two scanners, but we should be able to find something with a mass of about 0.03 and a drag of 0.2, for example a battery. Yeah, well, that's close enough, I guess. The drag is probably the important thing really when we're going through the launch sequence, and then obviously the mass wants to be as equal as possible when we are doing adjustments, and you know, 0.01 difference, I don't think that's going to be too bad. So let us change this to Minmus Carbonite Camera Mark 1. We won't bother mentioning it happens to have a scanner on it. Let's save that and get her onto the launch pad, ready to do our next contract. I'll see you there. Well, good morning to everyone at KSC. We are on the launch pad for today's launch, so let's get the SAS on, get the throttle up, and get her launched away. Now again, this is going to be more or less a repeat of the previous mission, so not a lot to see here. But what I thought I would just discuss whilst we are ascending is how we're going to build the base, what parts we're going to use the base. Now we could use the advanced parts, the MKS parts, but I think we shall use stock parts for our first mission to build a base, and then once we've established the asteroid in orbit and we put the base together, we will then use that as a scientific jumping off point for building a more skilled, more sophisticated base on the surface of Minmus, once we have established where all our resources are and had mapped out the surface using our various cameras and scanners that we have. So that's how I think it's going to pan out. I think the most interesting part of the mission will still be the capturing of the asteroid, because I've not actually captured an asteroid before, so I've rather set myself up for a fall in that respect. So we shall see. Right, well, certainly we shall see, because I will see you at Minmus. See you there. Well, here we are. Moment of truth time arrives. We are just about to enter in to Minmus's sphere of influence. There you can see Minmus coming along its orbit just there, and here we have our new satellite. 10 seconds to go. And there we are. Right, our first view of our required orbit. Very eccentric. Very eccentric. So what I suggest we do is we marry up our periapsis, circularize, and then do our final adjustments. Now that may or may not be the best approach, but given our approach is what it is, not quite as ideal as the previous launch, but let's see what we can do. So let's put in our first maneuver, and just bring ourselves across. Now we might find this easier to do from t'other side. So across. There we go. That's pretty close. Let's just move it across a little bit further. And now they are more or less on top of each other. Ooh, very much on top of the planet as well. We're on top of Minmus as well. So that is more or less good. Okay. So let us prepare to do this particular mover. 35 meters per second. We've got 952 in the transfer tank, so that should be fine. So if we line ourselves up with the maneuver node, now we've got 1 minute 42 to go. So if we just start trickling it in now, we will have plenty of time to apply it. So let's just watch this come in. So 27 meters per second still to go. Bringing that across. Now I won't be too worried if we're a little bit short. It's going a little bit long, that might end up with us impacting on the surface given how low this periapsis is. So let's get ready to kill the engines when we get that last dribble out of the tank. Here we go. There we go. I think that will do just nicely. Now we are going to be rather perpendicular to our orbit, but we will make those adjustments later. So let's add ourselves our capture maneuver. There we go. Add our capture maneuver. We shall execute that maneuver and then adjust ourselves accordingly. What do you think? 119 meters per second to do in 2 hours and 24 minutes. So let's get ourselves lined up and ready to roll. There we go. So 2 hours. Let's engage time acceleration. It's only a 5-second burn, so we'll do it, well, 6 or 7 seconds out and we'll just dribble it in again. Engage time acceleration factor 100, and just tap on 1000, and just make sure we're quick on the keys. There we go, down to 45 minutes, brought down time warp to 100. And here we come in. 30. 20. And we're going to be accelerating, so let's drop time warp down again. 10 minutes. 7. Drop down to time warp 10. Get a bit more of a view. 3 minutes. Oh boy. This is going to be close. 1 minute, here we go. "44 seconds. Almost pick out individual rocks on the surface at this height. I don't think our cameras would have any problems at all. So 20 seconds. Right, let's just make sure we are all lined up. Here we go. Then we're going to go about half. There we go. Brilliant. So now all we have to do is adjust and adjust to make sure we're going the right way. Now we're going this way round our orbit, so we have got to make sure we turn this way. So we do that out here at our lowest point, slowest point I should say, and we want to go that away. Can't see for all these labels. Oh. I'll bring this in. And bring it in a little more. And that should be right. Now we'll need to do some further adjustments to get this all in line, because obviously our inclination's pretty rubbish. But let's get ourselves as close as possible. So, a 2-second burn in 2 hours. Let's make use of our lovely Kerbal alarm clock for a maneuver alarm. And let's hit the acceleration button. Here we come around. To burn another 64.9 meters per second. And there we go. Thank you, Mr. Alarm Clock. Let's get ourselves lined up. Maneuver node in this direction, or I should say reticle in this direction. Just overshot it slightly. There we go. There's our little carbonite detector and scan set. You can see the Mun and Kerbin in the background there, with Minmus above us. So we're all ready to go. Slightly overdid that. Let's see. I think that's pretty good. And we're now going in this direction, so it's time to start making our adjustments. So let us Where should we make this one? Here we go. This is where we cross over. So let us twist this way. I think that gets us more or less into plane, and while we're at it, whoops! Oh dear, did that again. Oh dear. Here we go. How well is that lining up? Just slightly off. God, I wish there was a better tool for this. Whoops, too far. And then we want to pull it in. There we go. So let's just check our contract. Oh, wrong contract. So it's got to be 400, just over 400 kilometers. So just a smidgen more. 400. And then we will do our change for the periapsis and we should be done. So yet again, let us add a new maneuver node alarm and engage time warp. There's the alarm sounded. 1 second burn. Let's get ourselves rotated accordingly, not far. To go for the reticule, 1 second burn. And we still have a handy amount of fuel in the transfer stage. There we go. Marvellous. So let's just tap time warp just to bring us forward a little bit. Here we go. Let's just trickle that in. And we're done. Looks like we needed to give it just a smidgen more. Nope, too far. Okay, we will correct that on the next pass. So let us make another adjustment just here to bring ourselves better into line, and also to bring our periapsis down. And I've done it again. Lazy finger. Check our contract. It's got to be 6150. Whew. A little bit more. 58. 6109. I'm never going to be that accurate, so we'll just have to wait and see. So let's add another alarm and get round our orbit. Let's focus on Minmus. Meters per second, delta V to burn in this case. Let's get ourselves lined up. Here we go. Just bring it around. tap on time warp. And let's just drop in this tiniest amount of delta V. Within 100 meters. Marvelous. I think this is going to be our last adjustment before we match our orbits with that in the contract. Can't see what it's saying. 1 meter per second. 397, I think that says. So it's got to go out just slightly. Oop, too far. Bring it back in very gently. 403 and just double check. 400. 400, there we go. Now where are we not quite lined up? I'm not sure. It looks like we're lined up there. We must be slightly skew whiff, like so. Look at that. Oh dear, it's as if I can put in 3 meters per second that accurately. Should we see? Let's get ourselves lined up in advance this time. Let's get ourselves our alarm set and move forward. Time warp engaged 1000. And here we come. Time warp dropping as the alarm kicks in, and close the alarm. 2.4 meters per second it's settled on in 51 seconds. Tap on time warp just to bring us round. And there we go, trickle in this tiniest of amounts. There we go, dead on. Right, let's hands off the keyboard. Controls, hand off the controls, I should say. Of course, hands off the controls. And wait 10 seconds. There we go, excellent. We have met our rather eccentric orbit and providing ourselves with a handy amount of science and a handy reward. 150,000 funds in reward, and what's that, 3,000, just over 3,000 in science, and of course 200 reputation. We can't forget that KSC is piling on the reputation. Well, that is 2 satellites in orbit around Minmus. I think KSC off camera will need to just adjust those orbits to something slightly more productive from a scanning and resource identification perspective. But with that said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.